I think this thing is on. Now we're on. Well, hello, friends. Facebook Live. Welcome to a riveting episode of Open Mic live here in Columbus, Ohio, on this beautiful Monday afternoon, the 29th of September, 2025, at around 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This is Mike George coming at you from the CCAD, campus green here at the Columbus College of Art and Design on this gorgeous Monday afternoon. Uh, uh, yeah, I'm Mike George. Hi. Um, I had some shit on my mind just kind of recently, and this is actually these are some things that some thoughts based on some of the comments and feedback that I've received in some of the posts I've made recently. Kind of in my vain attempts to highlight some of the work I've achieved during my little maybe, oh God, almost ongoing, a 3-year sabbatical since my last sort of full-time engineering job uh, when I was down in Louisiana. Um, one thing that I've one routine that I've sort of developed, I guess, especially in these last several years of I guess unhousedness and sort of pennilessness and and my sort of my overall reliance on other people, including many of you guys, of course, for things like money, things like emotional support, things like just general, I guess, solidarity for what I'm trying to, for some of the things I'm trying to do here during my sabbatical. One of the things that I really have made a habit out of every week is writing thank you notes. And this is something this is a habit that was introduced to me. I think back when I worked at AEP, and I think it was something that from one of our maybe our HR things, just kind of espousing the sort of the power of gratitude, and the power that something as simple as a handwritten thank you note can have on keeping somebody motivated, keeping somebody kind of dedicated to the mission. And as somebody who's managed people myself, people that had both worked for me for money and for and for not and not for money, really people that had done work for me, that had helped me or that had helped some larger effort that I just happened to be in charge of. I reflect a lot on what kept those people motivated, what kept them coming back. Um, I've had my own successes and failures when it comes to, I guess, my leadership um, experience, and I really reflect. Gosh, I really look back uh, to the to well, way to the past. Yester yonder to my undergraduate days at Wright State University, when I had the privilege then of serving as president of our campus activities board of the UAB University Activities Board. That was one of my most, I guess that was one of my highest profile, I guess, leadership positions back during that day. And it was an organization that I had worked for about 3 years, starting as a major events chair, organizing some of the big high profile concerts on campus, and also kind of having the opportunity to kind of start my own um, events that I'm very proud to say some of which I've actually kept going even well after my time after graduating from Wright State. And looking back, those are some of the things I'm proudest of, as far as my accomplishments, in university. And when I go back to Wright State and I see that they're still doing things like the homecoming dance that I started, or even more so like things like Metro Nights, which was a sort of an international dance club event that started. When I see some of the things that I either wittingly or unwittingly kind of established that other people beyond me felt that was a good idea to keep around. Those are some of the things that I really truly honor, that I cherish. When I look back at some of the, when I look back, I guess on the legacy, if you will, that I sort of imparted upon these places. And obviously I'm proud. I'm proud of my own academic achievements. Obviously I'm blessed to have earned a bachelor's degree from Wright State. I'm blessed for having the chance to earn a master's degree from McGill University. From one of the top schools in the world. But it's a college degree is just a piece of paper, all right? And I think what really, I mean, what really makes me teary-eyed now, even just looking back on it all, is the events that the events that I got to produce, and some of the impact that some of those events had on people, some of the ways in which those events brought people together. Um, yeah, some of these individuals whom, hell, I mean, some of these individuals who met at perhaps some of my parties and events. Some of them even went on to be married to get, this a couple. I'm just thinking of a couple instances in which I kind of unwittingly match made a couple that I got married. And man, reflecting on that, it's I cherish that, and it really. Shoot, I'm just maybe I'm being a little over the top and emotional for I don't know what I did just smoke a bowl, and so there's that possibility my emotions are just elevated from that. But you'd be amazed at what a simple thank you does. And that goes just for saying thank you to somebody verbally, and that can extend on up to a handwritten thank you card or even a trophy, that maybe somebody gets at the end, some one of those big swanky end of year awards banquets. All right. And sometimes it's easy to kind of look at those types of rituals as just kind of patting each other on the back, and it's sort of this circle jerk of self-congratulations and such. And I really try myself to kind of just distinguish between compliments that are genuinely earned and merited versus just bullshit empty compliments that are designed just to kind of kiss your ass. And I'm pretty good at I consider myself pretty good at being able to sniff out bullshit, I think. And so when I do remember those moments in which some of you guys had said thank you to me, they mean a lot. And especially during those times in which especially during times like now when sometimes you just question everything that you've done and you wonder whether it was all just a big giant fucking waste of time, which is often what I feel about this whole like so-called sabbatical that I've been in. And like I will admit that I did not that I know I should be working by now, and honestly, that is something I need to fix. And I just remember one particular comment was made it was made in response to a promotion I was making about Wanda. And first of all, I was just irritated. And the comment went like this: "So, Mike, what's your work situation?" And like, I was just first of all, I have to say, I was at first I was kind of annoyed by the comment because it was not even related at all to the subject matter of the video. It was as if this person just kind of saw the video, just went, just kind of blindly put this little snarky remark on there, without any context of what I was talking about at all. And if you wanted to do that, you could have just messaged me. You could have just like put it on my wall, whatever. It just didn't seem like the place for that little checkup on me was specifically in this post about Wanda. All right. And so, but at the same time, this is a person that I respect a lot, and this is a person from my hometown. And this is somebody, and kind of going back to my what I talked about, I think a few weeks ago about assuming positive intention in other people. I decided, no, you know what? This person wasn't trying to be a jackass. This person wasn't trying to be a condescending bitch. She was just, there was some grain of positive intention with that, and that positive intention was having a fucking job, and not and sort of being, and escaping from this sort of this endless cycle of asking y'all for money. And I obviously no one, gosh, I mean, yes, it's trite. And I will admit I've gotten more and more apprehensive of doing that. And for right, and obviously, like, there's a limit I recognize that there's a limit to people's generosity. All right, and I realize that it's annoying as fuck to have people come to you out of the woodwork, begging you for money. All right, I get that, and I've been on the other end of that stick myself, of course. I think we've all, in some regard, have been on the on the receiving end or the giving end of needing help, and having to ask yourself, having to justify to yourself whether whether what I've done, whether my achievements, whether my whatever I've accomplished in the last month or so, whether those things really deserve $20 more from somebody, you know, during the eighth or ninth or tenth or whatever time that I've hit them up on Facebook asking them for money. All right, and to that end, as tacky as it is, and for whatever it's worth, I appreciate these individuals who have said yes and who have been a sort of lifeline for me, knowing, and I know myself that this is not the ideal scenario, even as somebody living on the streets, and even as somebody who's kind of going through my sort of my long-winded period of financial duress. I know, gosh, I know, but I should know better. I know that. I tell myself that every time I ask one of you guys for money, and I tell myself that, God damn it, this is not the right way to go about this, Michael. I had a nonprofit for several years that I even did, under which I did the same thing. I asked you guys for money, and you know, obviously, like I hope I've expressed this gratitude, but I am extremely grateful to each of the individuals who have helped me out. And I think some of you guys haven't even noticed that, that there's a whole page on my website dedicated to kind of to 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 I guess sort of honor that, to honor each of you guys individually. Um, maybe some of you guys don't even know that there's a picture of you on that website. Hopefully a flattering one. But I had to do it. I had to at least do that one small thing every nonprofit organization does it, right? You acknowledge your sugar daddies. You pay thanks to that, and I hope each of you out there, who, especially some of you guys who, some of, I guess, who I've considered my big ticket donors. I really, honestly, I really hope that you feel that money that you guys gave me, that it wasn't just thrown out the window. I know sometimes you can feel like that, and there's times at which, I guess the way I look at it is, I've always thought of it as an investment in me. And that's, in a way, what makes it even more special to me, and what makes it mean a lot more to me, is that you guys are doing so believing in me and believing in the shit I'm trying to do. And sort of I guess, I hate to use I hesitate to use the word mission, but I guess, the whole point, kind of making these last 3 years for me count for something. Um, I and even there are so many days in which I struggle and I get really fucking depressed at myself, because I tell myself some variant of the same thing, that fuck Michael, you should be working by now, and I think to, like, what position I could have, that I might have already achieved by now at the age of 39 years old, if only I had, just simply gotten another job right after moving up from Louisiana. I think about that a lot, and it's valid, and it's a very valid thought. Honestly, it's sort of the rational thought, kind of the prevailing rational thought. Um, and that having been said, like, I know this, and I really do I need to get my shit together. I know this. I need to put a renewed focus on the next step in my career. And if I'm very honest with myself, I have not done jack squat with that in a really in a really unsettlingly long time. And I so many, and thank you guys thank you to these individuals. I don't want to make it sound like I was calling them out for being, bitchy and stuff, or whatever. I mean, Yeah, there was maybe a little bit of bitchiness and condescension in there, but I think there was more importantly a genuinely positive intention with that, and that intention is sort of rooted in the fact that you guys do believe in me, and that you guys do believe that there's that there's a lot more that that I can achieve right now than just doing these stupid Facebook Live posts and begging for money every now and then. Okay, and you know, yeah, that's I mean that's the truth of the matter. Okay, looking back, I know I could have. There are so many things I could have done better about the about the methods here. First, starting with the fact that instead of begging you guys for money, I should have really been begging the government for money. As far um, in the form of grants, and sort of there's so much money out there, you know, throughout the various, well, maybe not federal anymore, but throughout the various like sort of government programs out there that are designed to go to things like Crimson Roof Studios and to some of the initiatives that we were trying to do through that. When I look at Wanda, I think to the lost opportunities even for that, and the fact that I even had a really kind individual that I met in the last couple of years really steer me towards some of the funding opportunities available through, say, the Greater Columbus Arts Council, and God damn it, I fucked up. All right, I really fucked up on these. I really left money on the table that I should have been snatching, and I kind of went back to the my old routine of asking you guys for money, which is not the rational approach to this. As much as I love you guys, and as much as I genuinely appreciate the moment, those times in which you're able to give me money and kind of help keep me on my feet and keep me from starving. I know that that's not a sustainable way of doing of anything, and especially during this time when many of you guys might be going through your own financial woes. I know there's a selfishness to this, and I know that it really undermines the intention of Crimson Rouge, which was helping other people, not just becoming a front for getting money for myself. And so I've reflected on that a lot, and I mean honestly, I can't even say I've reflected on it. It's just constant. It's that constant. It's one of the things that constantly nagging voice in the back of my head is continues to nag at me about. Love you, Miranda. Um, and so I just want you guys to know that I'm aware of that, and I know it's one of those things that's sort of the elephant in the room that maybe some of you guys have been too polite to say to me, but I want you just to know that I know that. And maybe and yeah, I know that, and I know that you're probably thinking it even at the same time as you're going on on Cash App and sending me another $20 to survive. um and I want you to know that I know that, and I know that, and I appreciate that you still send me that $20 anyways for some reason, and I genuinely appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. And I know, like, I know there's a little bit of a moral, I guess, sort of a moral fallacy to this, and you might ask yourself, well, fuck, what makes you different, Michael, than from any other vagrant on the street who asks or who begs me for money, why should I give money to you and not them? And, I think about that too, and, and I guess I sort of answer that question to myself, at least by convincing myself that there's, along with the genuine act of charity behind that money that you guys help me with, that there really is some level of investment that you have that perhaps you guys feel that you're making in me or making in some of the projects that I've been trying to work on, like Street Smart, like Wanda. And I realize that, if I'm going to look at this through the lens of an investment, I realize it's getting to that time where it's time to start putting out, what we call the return on investments. And as I need to, this is something kind of for me to really, really, I need to get my ass up and start delivering on that investment, you guys. And I just want you to know that I am aware of that, and it's something that I take very, it's something that I hold.
it's something that I hold myself to. Just as somebody who, who's able to live with myself a little bit and to feel like that this bullshit that I put myself through, and this, that this time is not just wasted on being homeless, on being a beggar on the fucking streets. So I want this to mean something. I want the things that I've been doing for these past 3 years to mean something, and I want there to be something left. I want there to be something that continues from this even after I'm employed again, and even after I'm making 100,000 a year again. And, I want this to matter. I don't want to just I don't want to just repeat the same loop of being a young professional again, and I don't want to just live in that swanky little bubble without this having mattered for something. And so yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about that. And that's kind of I'll have to say that, like, it's been frustrating sometimes with, like, with things like Street Smart and with Wanda, to like get people to get like real material support from the organizations that I feel should be, from some of the homeless organizations that I feel should be giving me money for this app, for the Street Smart app. And and again, I know that some of it's on me because I have to really do a better job of making the ask. But I just think about this when I think about the Street Smart app a lot in the context of frustration, because it just feels like I've wasted so much time making an app that I really feel is, has a lot of, at least for me personally as a homeless person, it's super useful for me. That's why I fucking made it. And it's really difficult just seeing, I don't know, it's really frustrating, I guess, to be begging you guys for money like this, and knowing that there's organizations out there that ought to be cutting me a check for this, because I'm serving part of their mission. I'm accomplishing some of the things that they should be doing, on quite honestly. And so that's been on my mind a lot. And with regards to sort of the thanklessness that I feel like this little sabbatical has put me through, and for some of the, and yeah, and I guess I just had to get off my chest, because as much, yeah, that has to be one of the most frustrating and sort of honestly agonizing things about this experience, is that I want this to mean something, not just as far as me surviving. I want this to I want this to help others get through their struggle. And it's frustrating trying to build something like that and getting like zero support from people and organizations that have the money and have the mission to spend that money on things like this and don't fucking do it, or they just ignore it. So what the fuck am I even wasting all my time doing this for at the end of the day, right? One might ask themselves. And so that question still continues to linger. And so I'm gonna kind of put that on myself as a homework assignment, to start asking some of these bitches for money, and maybe, and also ask you guys for money too. I mean, why not, right? No shit. No, but I just want you guys to know that, that I am, that, my gratitude for you guys who have helped me monetarily and even non-monetarily. Just, just even saying things like, "Hey, I see you out there." You know, in some ways, those non-monetary expressions of gratitude, in some ways, they really mean a lot more to me than just a check. And even though I obviously still really appreciate that check. um, and so on that note, as I have my earbud fall out, there we go. Technical moment. We had to have a technical moment, and for one, it wouldn't be an open mic live segment without a fuck up somewhere there. So there was the fuck up. Thankfully, a minor one, hopefully. So on that note, I'm gonna get going. Speaking of of government handouts and such, things that I begged for, and I don't want to say I feel entitled to, but I'm gonna go use my EBT money to go buy me some lunch at one of our fine local grocery stores. Um, Thank you to the government for that EBT card. And no, I'm not going to be thanking our president.
for that because Lord knows if he had his way, that fucking shit would be gone already by now. So, anyways, that having been said, for the millionth time, thank you all. Um, and yeah, I'll let you guys. I'm gonna get the hell off of here and enjoy this beautiful, beautiful day that this afternoon in Columbus, Ohio. Um, yeah, make sure to, if you guys can't cut me a check, make sure to do what you can to help. Kind of to paraphrase my own little tagline. Make sure to take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Coming to you live from the Columbus College of Art and Design in Columbus, Ohio. This is Mike George. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Toodaloo.